Welcome back, Waterfest Girl. The new facts as evidence unveiled by the cross-examination of this witness all come together to reveal the truth. The truth, you say? That you collaborated with your father, Mr. Mason Milverton, in illegal dealings with Magnus McGildred. By dint of this music box, you mean, counsel? Yes. Stealing information being sent in secret by government communications and selling it on to Mr. Gildred. Mr. Grady concocted this elaborate scheme by using two music boxes to encode the information, as presumably a safety measure against the information falling into the wrong hands. Very effective one. I shouldn't have given the scheme any credit whatsoever. But the deal with Mr. McGildred went sour, and the brickmaker met his end. Yes, but before he was arrested, McGildred managed to temporarily dispose of the stolen disc at the pawnbroker. Then, having learned of the situation, you appeared at Windybanks 2 days ago, in an attempt to recover the two articles McGildred had placed in pawn there. But that attempt failed. One of the discs was seized by the police, and the other you never found. So that same night, you enlisted the help of the Skulkin brothers and broke into the pawnbrokery. This time, determined to recover the second disc. Are you suggesting that the second disc was inside the music box? Eh? We never knew nothing about that. On the night that Mr. Windybank was killed. The intruder in the pawnbrokery touched one item and one item alone, the music box. As rather ingeniously demonstrated using two prints of the security camera, indeed. So, the question that naturally begs answering is this. Why was only the one article disturbed? The answer is obvious, because it contained the second disc, which the intruder was desperate to retrieve. Since, if it were to fall into the hands of the police, it would be proof of high treason. Well, Mr. Graydon, do you deny all of this actually began on that fateful night, 2 months ago? I refuse to accept any of this nonsense. Sir, there appears to be blood seeping through the sleeve of your jacket. 2 nights ago, we know that 3 shots were fired at the scene of the crime in Windybank's pawnbrokery. 1 took the life of the pawnbroker himself. 1 struck the pouch around Mr. Shalm's waist. And the final bullet struck the calendar on the wall of the shop, having first pierced the arm of one of the intruders. That wound in your arm that you seem to be trying to hide, it's a bullet wound, isn't it? It's got you now, me old China. Time to call it quits and croak, I reckon. Tisk. Don't acknowledge my presence there under any circumstances whatsoever. Those were my terms, remember, and I paid you handsomely to comply. Clearly I was a fool to think I could trust some common backslum thieves. Fine, I admit it. I was there in Windybanks that night. I paid the pair 10 guineas to accompany me, and as you notice, I sustained an injury in course of my adventures. But that is all. I admit nothing more. Stealing government secrets, negotiating with Mr. McGildred. As God is my witness, I'm sure I recall nothing of the sort. He's got me going down without a fight, not until I can show him hard evidence, I suppose. Nevertheless, the defense now established a crucial fact, which is, well, we know that 1 bullet was fired from each of the 2 firearms we have in evidence. The bullet from the Skulkin brothers' gun hit the pouch around Mr. Sholm's waist. And the bullet from Mr. Windybank's gun clearly must have been the one that caught Mr. Graydon in the arm. Indeed it must. We can rule out the possibility that the man shot himself. And that leads us only to one conclusion. Mr. Windybank was shot by a 3rd gun, which could only have been fired from the 3rd intruder. Goodness. That's right, Mr. Graydon. The only person who could possibly have shot Mr. Windybank that night is you.
Hold it!
Here we go. You little upstart. You made a grave mistake when you summoned me here. What? What's that supposed to mean? Yes, as you rightly say, I was there at the pawnbrokers. I did my best to hide the fact, and naturally, I had no intention of ruining the distinguished career I'd built for myself at the communication station. But did the thought never cross your mind? Did you never consider the possibility? What? What do you mean? What thought? What possibility? The possibility that if I was there at the scene, I may have witnessed a crucial moment. You see, this makes me a key witness in this case, and I have hands firmly around the neck of your client. Are you suggesting I saw it all? I saw the very moment the pickpocket girl pointed the gun at the poor defenseless pawnbroker and shot him. You what? Order, order, order. Well, it would seem we are finally entering the last act of this theatrical trial. Mr. Graydon. Yes, I trust you are fully aware of the implications here. If it is shown that your claim is false, you will have incriminated yourself as the killer. Oh, I understand fully. Then I must ask you to give your formal testimony once more. You will explain to the court precisely what you saw at the moment the defendant allegedly shot the victim. I still have two unanswered questions. One, how was that pile on the table really moved? If it was moved the way he did, he threw his friend over the thing. How was he shot? Where was he shot from? And how is he not seen when leaving initially? Where was he? That's my question. The moment of the shooting. While these ruffians were jostling with the broker, I was still near the entrance of the shop. When Windybank threw Nash over the counter, I felt a sharp pain in my arm. I pursued the man, but he shut himself in the storeroom. I could see him through the peephole in the door, though. We got him. The accused in the black coat shot the man in the black as he was trying to flee for safety. I saw the blood splatter all over that wretched girl. What blood? Then she tossed the gun out of the peephole, so I picked it up and made my escape. Why would she toss it over the peephole? There's so much wrong here. Good gracious. This is quite extraordinary. Okay, so first of all, we have him at her coat himself. You claim, sir, under oath, they have clearly seen the defendant pulling the trigger. Through the peephole. Order, order, order. It wasn't my intention to testify this way. But neither is it my intention to be found guilty of a murder I didn't commit. The blood on her coat should be blue. So you see, my hand has been forced. If I tell the truth now, it's an act of self-preservation. The truth. Until now, the prosecution was completely unaware of these details. Yes, well, sorry about that. Having shot me in the arm, the pawnbroker was then shot in the back by the accused. We can't present his actual coat. As I said, she was showered in blood. You say the blood splattered over the accused coat. Are you sure on that point? Oh yes, quite sure. All over the black overcoat as the pickpocket girl was wearing at the time. Really? If her coat could somehow be shown to harbor vestiges of blood, that would be conclusive evidence here. It does, but it doesn't show the right type of blood. Such an investigation is entirely possible, my lord. What? Only very recently, a German scientist had developed a technique to identify human blood. So here's to true science, not some amateurish detective's dubious foray in the world of chemistry. There's nothing dubious about Harley's work. His ideas are all sound. Ideas are no use here. In science as in law, theories must be proven before they stand. In Germany, the technique has already been employed in the courtroom as the basis of evidence. Scotland Yard has a small quantity of the chemical reagent used, your lordship's permission. We could shatter all vestiges of doubt within minutes. This doesn't look good, Bruno. Why not? Well, we know, don't we, that there's blood all over the front of Guinea's coat. If they test it with their chemicals... Oh, help, you're right. I was forgetting what happened yesterday. Don't move, Guinea, I'm going to shoot. Yeah. And she glue purple. My lord, the defense objects to the test proposed by the prosecution. Overruled. Ah, fuck. Lord Van Zeeks, make it so at once. With pleasure, my lord. And while we await the results, the defense may proceed with the cross-examination. Once they find that blood on the overcoat, Gina will be... Counsel. Yes, my lord. Your cross-examination. Of course, my lord. If I don't manage to uncover some decisive evidence or a really compelling clue now, I have a very bad feeling about the outcome of this trial. While these ruffians were jostling with the broker, I was still near the entrance to the shop. When Windybank threw Nash over the counter, I felt a sharp pain in my arm. Hold it! Mr. Windybank emerged from the storeroom, I believe. Ringo and Nash were scouring the counter when he suddenly appeared and flew at him. He already had the revolver in his hand. Fortunately, I wasn't too close. I've never been so scared in all my life. Yeah, we're just your regular, mild-mannered burglar, that's all. We don't like violence. Says the pair who carry a gun. What do you mean when you say you were near the entrance of the shop? I was in the doorway, running my eyes over the shelves of forfeited items. Looking for the music box, of course. The broker went for Nash in the first place. Then Ringo joined in, making it 2 against 1, so I assumed they could handle the situation. But I was wrong. I was trying to help me little bruv. The old geezer chucked me over the bloomin' counter. So I pulled a gun on the old fella, and that soon made him scarper. A pair of you settling upon the poor, defenseless pawnbroker together. Shame on you. Sorry, Gov. Hold it! How? You mean that's the moment you were shot? Yes, though I didn't immediately realize what had happened, of course. Things crashed on the floor from the counter as 3 men were brawling. It was exactly at the moment it happened, so I did hear the gunshot. And the bullet went straight to the calendar on the wall behind you. So it would appear. When I looked at my arm, I saw it was bleeding badly, so I wrapped my handkerchief around it. Seeing as I couldn't explain what had happened to a doctor, I had no choice but to wait for it to heal. I didn't imagine it would still be bleeding 2 days later. Did Mr. Windybank intend to shoot you, do you think? Well, now, I don't imagine he even noticed I was there, to be honest. Perhaps the gun went off accidentally. Anyway, it didn't quite strike home. When I pulled me gun on him, he tried to shove me out of the way, and then he scarpered for the front door out back. At which point did you do? Hold it! Okay. You mean you chased after him? I don't recall the reason why, but I ran after him to the back of the shop. And what about this peephole in the door you mentioned? Well, unsurprisingly, the storeroom door is a solid job, made of stout wood. But in there's a small opening and it's about head high. Lets you see what's in there from the outside. Actually, I should know that, shouldn't I? I looked through it myself that night. And what about you, Berglund brothers? Did you see what went on through this peephole as well? Not likely, guy. Don't see nothing of the sort, Gov. I doubt these 2 buffoons were even aware of the peephole's existence. So the Skulkin brothers were there, but they didn't see the killing of Mr. Windybank take place. Inside the storeroom, I could see the broker and a young girl standing there. The defendant. Yes, though neither of them noticed I was looking. The The girl raised her gun and pointed it straight at the man. And then, what did you see next? The accused in a black coat shot the man in the back as he was trying to flee to safety. Where was he fleeing to?
Hold it!
Yes, when the crime scene was discovered, the defendant was found with a gun in her hand. But that was Mr. Windybank's gun, from which only a single bullet had been fired. And as we've already established, Mr. Graydon, that bullet was fired at you. Ah, but no, it wasn't the broker's gun that the pickpocket girl had when I saw her. Yes, the bullet from Windybank's gun grazed my arm. And yes, the Skulkin's gun grounded the detective. But this was another gun entirely. A third gun. The broker's gun was not the murder weapon, so clearly there had to be a third firearm involved. In other words, the accused must have had her own gun with her all the time.
Objection.
But no other gun was found at the scene. Ha 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 ha. Calm yourself, counsel. Sorry? You must consider the events in order. At first I saw the broker and the girl glaring at each other, but then all of a sudden, the broker turned to run, and it was at that moment that the little gutter rat shot him in the back. A chilling image, I must say. I saw the blood spatter all over the wretched girl.
Hold it!
All over her. Yes, through the peephole I saw it clearly. Of course, the stains are invisible now, what with the coat being such a dark color. But I assure you, that garment is sullied with the victim's blood. Well, it's sullied with blood, that's for sure. But it's not Mr. Windybank's blood, is it? No, that's right. It's Mr. Mason Milverton's blood from when Mr. Gilden stabbed 2 months ago. It's so annoying. If they'd only accept Hurley's chemical analysis, we could prove it. But they won't, so unfortunately we can't use it as evidence to support our case. Bother. Then she tossed the gun out of the peephole, so I picked it up and made my escape. Why would she do that? Did I hear you correctly? She threw the gun out of the room. That's right. After the broker fell to the floor, she started walking over. Over where exactly? In the direction of the storeroom door to where I was watching. Of course, I quickly retreated, and then the girl dropped the gun through the peephole onto the floor on my side of the door. But why on earth would she do such a thing? I couldn't tell you. Perhaps she was hoping to distance herself from the murder weapon. Without thinking, I went and picked it up. Suppose I was worried about just leaving it there, in case any more tragedies took place. So it was you, in fact, who took the third gun from the scene of the crime. Yes, it was yours truly. I left to clear up, and my lackeys and left. Clear up. We made a bit of a mess around the counter, so Mr. Whistleandflew told us here to tidy up. He thinks our bloomin' month sometimes. When I was paying you enough, by God. Tell me, Mr. Graydon, when you left the pawnbrokery that night, was it by any chance with the second disc in your jacket pocket? You're like a bull at a gate, aren't you?
Excuse me.
What the hell's going on there? Gentlemen. Ha, 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 ha. Something wrong, Sunshine. That should be my line. You do realize you were just violently shaking Mr. Skulkin. Blimey, this needs a bit of an hooligan, ain't he? What was going on just now? You saw him, he grabbed me, whistled. Why the blazes, he said. I didn't mention the third gun when you got down to the station. Now, why didn't you? Cause we didn't know nothing about it. The flaming people at the door. Sorry about that. I can be prone to losing my rag sometimes. Not hurt, are you? God blimey. See the way he's looking at me? I'm telling you, this D gives me the willies. That was strange. The inspector doesn't normally get up quite worked up as that. He wouldn't normally grab someone. No, that wasn't like Greg's D at all. He's normally all sweetness and light, no matter what I say to him. Yes, well, I think he might be a special case, Iris. Well, anyway, that was definitely out of character. My lord. Requesting your lordship's permission to interrupt a cross-examination. Explain yourself, officer. I have results of the test I was ordered earlier, my lord. Ah, the blood. On an accused overcoat. Thank you, officer. Very well. The cross-examination is hereby temporarily suspended. I presume you have no objection, counsel. No, my lord. Well, there you have it. The report, please, Inspector. Yes, sir. Traces of human blood were found on the overcoat of the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. From the extent of the stains, it would appear that they were the result of spattering following a gunshot wound. End of report. Goodness me. See? What did I tell you? No, the blood on that coat is not Mr. Windybanks. What on earth makes you say that, counsel? The coat originally belonged to Magnus McGildred. Just before his coat was deposited at Windybanks, McGildred had fatally stabbed Mr. Mason Milverton. So the blood on that overcoat is the blood of the brickmaker from the omnibus case. Well, the dead cannot speak. Isn't that right, my Nipponese friend? Sorry? 2 months ago in this very courtroom, did you not argue fervently for Mr. McGildred's innocence? And yet, now that the man is dead, you brand him as a murderer. Your conduct shatters any shred of respect you may have earned to yourself for in this country. Ah, but that was. I call it a bally disgrace. Treachery, that's what it is. How to determine whether the blood on the coat is 2 months old or not? Even a stereoscope couldn't help answer that problem, Papa. It can't be done. But we use the Mr. Sholmes, a detective, not a chemist. Would you put so much faith in the chemical formula devised by me, for example, when I'm a communications officer? I held out bills because he's starving, boy, and he ran away crying. Sherlock Sholmes is barely more than a figment of the public's imagination. His name carries no weight in this courtroom, no weight at all. How could you say that? Victory is sweet indeed. This proves that my testimony is the whole truth from the start to finish. How do you arrive at such a conclusion, sir? As the witness said, the accused's coat was spattered with the blood of the victim. The only way Mr. Graydon could possibly have known that fact is if he saw it happen. In other words, his testimony is solid, and the conclusion is singular. It was the accused who shot the victim in this case. That is the whole truth. My lord. Been a long day battle, this one, but this old warhorse has something to say now, if you please. Mr. Foreman, as of this moment, sir, the squadron has reached its final decision. Ready, men. All for one now.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Here we go. Well, it'll appear that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury have reached an unanimous verdict. Could he have been wearing the coat? The defense has consistently failed to unpick his witness testimony. Here's to any attempt he may make at unpicking the jurors' decisions being equally successful. Ugh. I don't believe it. After I've come so far, how is it all unraveling on me so fast? How very distressing, to be held in such low esteem. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Naruhodo? Officer, you delivered your report now. That will be all, thank you. It occurs to me with some regularity, Mr. Naruhodo, that scientific truths are determined not by science, but by none other than the human mind. I know that voice. Am I going mad? Yeah, it's Sholmes. Hey, Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes! What? What is the meaning of this? Order, order, order. What business do you have here, detective? The last I heard, you were recuperating in hospital. As well I would be, had I not been set upon an errand. What errand? Hurley, it's really you. You're awake at last. Yes, good day, Iris. I appear to be rather late to rise. My apologies. Now, my lord, if you will humor me. In what manner, sir? I have something of great importance I wish to give the young lawyer over there. I need no more than 5 minutes. Would you be so kind to spare us the time? What say you to this, Lord Van Zeeks? This trial has taken many hours of the court's time, having spent so long already. Exactly, I haven't spent so long already. We don't want to go wasting more precious time. As I was saying, having spent so long already, it would seem childish to deny the defense a mere 5 minutes. Very well then, counsel, you have 5 minutes. My dear fellow, I apologize for my tardy arrival. Mr. Sholmes, you're right now. Ha ha ha. All right, I'm all wrong. Sorry? I've only just managed to summon the strength to stand, man. I asked the judge for 5 minutes. But I fear even that may prove too much for me. Pray forgive me, I should pass out. Let's make this discussion as short as possible. Hurley, this place is full of idiots. None of them can see how wonderful your chemical blood analysis is. Ah, well, that concoction of mine was really just a bit of sport to assist me in my investigations. I never took the trouble to refine it for my appraisal by the scientific community. An oversight on my part. Right. Modesty, surely not. But enough of that. I'm here to give you this, my dear fellow. What's that? A lavender futoshiki wrapping. Hey! A leaving present from Mrs. Sato. From Mrs. Sato? If possible, matters were to be settled without me giving you this. Those were her instructions when she asked me to do this favor. I don't understand. Mrs. Sato foresaw today's events, I believe. She knew that the culprit would attempt to escape justice by means of both devious and underhand. And now you, Nadahodo, fighting fairly as you were, won't find yourself in considerable peril. At the very moment of crisis, you were to be given this small parcel. Those were the dear lady's instructions. A leaving present from Mrs. Sato-san. Whatever could it be? What is this? Oh, it's the machine I made. Ah. It's a cat door opener. Look, I use this. It's my latest invention. What is that? I call it the cat flap-o-mat. I can make a cat flap and a little friendly like Waggy in seconds. How the fuck did I not notice it? Well, that's extremely flattering. But I'm sorry to say that I've been a complete failure. Whatever did you mean by that, Mr. Jones? That night when you left Winnie... Sorry. Almost choked. That was really close. Damn these snacks. Those are not the Canadian cola candies. Those are really solid cola candies. That night when you left Windybank in pursuit of the thieves. Mr. Sato made his use of this contraption for a certain purpose. That is your answer, dear fellow. No, I'm not all cryptic then. Sasato-san used this flapomatic that night, but why? Flapomat has been entered into court record. I'm grateful for you for affording us that brief recess, Mr. Reaper. I need no thanks, Detective. After all, the die is cast. Is it really? The jurors are unanimous in their learnings. No doubt my learned friend will consider a summation examination. But any attempt to alter the verdict now would be utterly futile. I wonder. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes. The rest is down to you, dear fellow. What is your plan? I need you to be careful there if I make a wrong move. The trial will end badly. My lord, the defense requests. Further cross-examination. The jurors have spoken. Protocol indicates that you may not cross-examine a new witness now. The defense is not asking for the cross-examination of a new witness. Rather, to continue with the one that was an existing witness. What? It would appear that a rather important detail has escaped your attention, Mr. Reaper. My lord. Requesting your lordship's permission to interrupt the cross-examination. Thank you, officer. Very well, the cross-examination is hereby temporarily suspended. I presume you have no objection, counsel? No, my lord. So nobody can say anything if Bruno asks to resume his cross-examination of Mr. Graydon. The court is obliged to allow it. This is absurd. He interrupted it, but he still has it. Remind those present that this is my courtroom. I concur that defense is entirely within its rights to request a continuation of the cross-examination. However, I will not permit an unremitting protraction of these proceedings. Therefore, I have decided to afford the defense one final opportunity in concluding the cross-examination. Counsel, you must choose but one statement from the witness's testimony, and but one piece of evidence to present in support of your argument against it. A single chance to present evidence. If, following that, the situation remains unchanged, I shall move forward to education. Is that clear? Counsels, you will not press the witness any further. No pressing L. My lord. Yes, my lord. A single statement and a single piece of evidence. Most generous. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo, it's high time I fell in a dead faint. I leave this in your capable hands. Bonk. Nice dramatical gun. Miss. Gershom's. To stand so insolently before the court in a state of such high fever, either man has extraordinary strength of mind or an extraordinary lack of feeling. I imagine he's feeling very little now. The detective is sleeping soundly in one of the antechambers. Strike a man when he's down, why don't you? Well then, counsel, are you fully prepared? Yes, one statement, one piece of evidence. I won't let Mr. Sholmes down, or Iris. And I won't waste this final chance that Sassan has given me. This is going to decide the entire outcome of the trial. Very well then. Under the terms I have outlined, you may resume a cross-examination. Now that's music. Whew, those vicious teeth look like they could rip through almost anything. They're good, aren't they? They're made of a special alloy developed just for this job. The cutter rotates 10 times per second, so it can get through any kind of door in no time at all. Ah, what are the two parts at the top there? Ah, those are for attaching hinges to the section of door that gets cut out. Right, of course. Nothing can match this machine for power. It can make mincemeat even to the toughest doors. It sounds so charming and friendly when you say what it's for, but it feels like the reality of the cat from Map is that grim weapon of door destruction. Wakahai is so adorable, there's nothing I would do for him, even developing deadly weapons.
Objection!
Hold on. I think we gotta do the cat flap-o-matic at the time.
Objection!
There we go. Hey, the photo could also prove that nothing happened. What on earth is this contraption, counsel? Ah, it's my cat Flap-O-Mat, my lord. It makes way for cats to get in and out of a room. It can cut clean through any door you can think of, and make a new little door in the middle of it. That's right, my lord. It's a device for creating so-called cat flaps. Small doors for cats to come and go as they please, without their owners having to open the main door. I'm sure we can all work it out for ourselves. But that cat lover's contrivance has no possible relevance to this case. Oh, really? Of course it doesn't. To start with, there was no cat flap in the pawnbroker's door. Not being a keeper of cats myself, I'm afraid I fail to see what this has to do with the matter at hand. Perhaps it would help if I described its function in another way, then. This contraption is able to create a peephole in any door you can imagine in practically no time at all. I beg your pardon. A peephole, you say? 2 nights ago, we arrived at the scene only minutes after the murder at Windy Banks had taken place. That's right. According to the paperwork in the yard, was you, your Japanese assistant, and Sholmes. Yes, the 3 of us were together, and it's recently come to my attention that my assistant made use of this device at the time. Your assistant did what? There was a peephole in that storeroom door. I can attest to that. Because I looked through the peephole myself, in order to see inside the locked storeroom. This is ludicrous. What are you trying to say? Of course there was a peephole in that door. I said as much so in my testimony. How else could I have witnessed a crime, for pity's sake? Yes. How could you? What? Counsel, kindly say what you mean. Alright. It's time. Time to strike the final blow. What I mean is this, my lord. My assistant made the peephole in the storeroom door, and until such time as she did, the door had no hole in it to look through. No.
Objection!
This is a farce. Are you really suggesting that the peephole in the door was... Yes, it was created only after the incident had taken place, by my judicial assistant using this device. Your assistant tampered with the crime scene, whilst being fully aware of the gravity of her actions? That is a most serious act of vandalism, for which I humbly apologize, my lord. It was in the few minutes that I left the scene in order to pursue the Skulkin brothers and alert the police. Nevertheless, in light of this new information, as it becomes apparent that Mr. Graydon's testimony is riddled with holes. Riddled with... Explain yourself, counsel. The majority of Mr. Graydon's testimony that appears to incriminate the defendant is based upon what he witnessed through the peephole in the storeroom door. Yes, that filthy girl shooting the man in the back. However, if at the time of the incident, that peephole did not yet exist in the door, there's no possible way that you could have seen what you claim to have seen. In short, your entire testimony is a pack of lies. Order, order, order. Is there any credence to this revelation?
Objection!
None whatsoever, as my learned friend must surely realize. Exactly. This is just some cheap trick designed to discredit me. I'm afraid not, sir. Of course it is. Do you seriously expect people to believe that placing can cut through a solid wooden door? Oh yes, I designed it to be very powerful. It can cut through even the toughest of the doors. That's absurd. I don't believe it for a second. Ah, I had a feeling you'd say that. What? Waggy. Gooey. Time for dinner. She got through the courtroom door. Well. Young lady, that is the Old Bailey. One does not make a cat flaps in the oak paneling at the Old Bailey. I'm not done yet, don't worry. This doesn't mean the people in the storeroom door at Windy Mix was made by your machine. And there's no way I can prove how it was. No, but it's easier. What? The cat flaps my cat flap-a-mat creates are all of fixed size, and the dimensions of the peephole at Windy Banks are the exact match. Hee hee. Old Silk is lost for words. Excellent work, Iris. Thank you. And now it's my learned student's friend's turn to be lost for words, I feel. I believe your judicial assistant has already left the country for your Eastern Island home. Well, yes, that's true. Then you may have some difficulty in establishing all of the facts. For the sake of argument, let us assume the peephole has dimensions that are a perfect fit for this contraption. In that case, when was the peephole cut? The prosecution demands proof of your answer. We're working on it. Ah. What is the purpose of your line of inquiry, Lord Manzeeks? It's very simple, my lord. This defense argues that the peephole was created after the incident using this device. But now the perpetrator has returned to her native land, she cannot testify to that fact. There is no proof. And for as long as the defense remains unable to prove when the peephole was made, my learned friend's claim amounts to nothing more than a baseless accusation. Indeed, that is so, Lord Van Zeeks. Well, counsel, don't give up now, Bruno. This is the time to create your own opening, your own way, or force your way through. I don't know if I can do this, but I do know one thing. Sasada-san, the greatest judicial assistant in the world. Very well, the counsel for the defense will present evidence to support the claim made. Proof that the people in the doors of the Windy Bank storeroom was created after the event and not before. 1 a.m. during the gunshot. 1:30 a.m. door appears.
Take that!
What are you? A print from the detective's infernal cameras again. My judicial assistant, Miss Sada Mikatoba, is an extremely intelligent and capable woman, which is why I never had any cause for doubt that she would have considered this scenario and made sure I had necessary proof. And the necessary proof is this photographic print, counsel. This print shows the scene in the shop moments after the defendant entered the premises. Agreed. And it also shows the accused mercilessly wielding a gun in the direction of the defenseless broker. But, more to the point, it pictures the storeroom door in the background. Let me see that print again. I didn't believe it. It really is quite remarkable. The door of the storeroom is completely devoid of a peephole of any description. Mr. Graydon, you couldn't possibly have witnessed the crime as you claim to have done, because at the time it happened, there was no peephole in the door. In other words, your testimony is a catalog of lies. Nice figure skating. Order, order, order. I am satisfied that the defense has substantiated the claim beyond reasonable doubt. This witness testimony was entirely fallacious. That's not the only thing we now know beyond reasonable doubt. My learned friend's assistant's guilt can no longer be denied. The woman tampered with the crime scene. But more importantly, good lord, there's more, Lord Menzies. The defense may have established a representative instance of perjury, but that is no proof this man is the victim's killer. Yes, that's right. What? I was there at the scene. It's true. And I was shot in the arm. It's true. But that's all. Yes, in fact, if you look at the circumstances, I am the victim here. Oh, please. I don't believe this. But they're right, as it stands now. I don't have any definitive proof that he's the culprit. Still, he can't worm his way out of it now. Iris, you know what they say. There's no point in locking the cat's door after the cat has bolted. Isn't that right, Bruno? As Hurley always says, one lie begets another. No, wait. That might have been a line I wrote for him in one of my stories. Well, no matter who said it first, you're right. Mr. Graydon, not only did you give false testimony to the court, but the lies that you told make no sense. Make no sense? What do you mean by such a remark? What you said in your testimony reveals that you know something you shouldn't have known. In other words, there's a fundamental inconsistency in your statements. What?
Objection!
Oh yeah, how would he know about the coat having blood? Won't you enlighten the court? Explain the alleged inconsistency. Iris was right. One lie begets another. The inconsistency revealed by the lies in the witness's statements. They should know that Mr. Graydon had knowledge of something that he shouldn't have known anything about. Namely, the bloodstains on the coat. The bloodstains that were present on Miss Lestrade's coat. That's right. The victim's blood splattered all over her when she shot him. But how could you possibly have known that? Obviously because I saw her do it through the peephole in the Dun dun dun, you motherfucker!